So before we get started, we'd like to tell you about what's new with our friends at STORYHIVE. Since 2013, TELUS STORYHIVE has funded productions and supported emerging filmmakers with mentorship and guidance from the National Screen Institute, and brought hundreds of films to life from creators in Western Canada. STORYHIVE's web series edition is back and better than ever. Do you have a pitch?
I do. And as much as I'd like to do it, if I can't, I do hope someone else would take this on. But I would really love to see a web series on a sanctuary for older dogs who then find homes.
That sounds so sweet.
Rescue dogs that need to find forever homes, as they call them. And it would be a really beautiful project because dogs and people, we belong together.
And, well, let's check the criteria. So, they're looking for web series pitches from folks based in BC and Alberta.
Check.
With stories that center connectivity,
Check.
health, the environment, and the digital economy. I mean, you can make a case.
You could make a case.
Yeah. The 40 successful pitches will receive $20,000 and customized mentorship to produce a pilot.
Applications are open until September 19th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check the eligibility requirements and apply now on STORYHIVE.com, and always rescue.
You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
So how often do you go bra shopping?
I mean, I don't go into stores very often, but I have found a size and a style that I like, and I buy them on the internet relatively frequently.
Okay, well, I don't do that. And I wish I did. I wish I had one. In fact, I really would love to just establish a uniform for myself.
Okay.
You know, really.
Like a bra uniform or a clothing uniform?
Just the whole thing.
But you love to have different fashions.
I do. But
what are you going to do?
But sometimes I'm just all, let's give up and start going coveralls. Like that.
Honestly,
remember Frances McDormand when she was all in that movie and she's like, I'm doing coveralls now and that's that. I'm done.
Coveralls are a great look and they're very in.
I don't really like the idea of the peeing though because it feels like something could get on the ground.
Have a front coverall that you just can unzip or unsnap.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, you can unzip or unsnap from the front, and then you just peel it all off so you can go to the bathroom. Or
you're literally just sitting in there naked in the toilet.
Always butt flaps. That's my answer for everything.
Well, I just feel like I put it off.
Cut your own crotch out, Lisa.
Yeah, and I want now just to I want to do what you just mentioned. I have to figure this out.
Cut your own crotch out?
Yeah, the whole thing. I've just got to make. I mean, Stephen, we can bring you in here.
You can. I haven't been bra shopping in a couple of years, but I used to be a fashion stylist, so I used to bra shop a heck of a lot.
Okay,
more than your average dude,
and
I would think.
have you seen some terrible bras that women are trying to keep wearing that they really needs to go?
Yeah, when I was doing personal styling, not so much with
Yeah.
the models because they didn't even ever really wear them,
Yeah,
or
of course.
they just had a tensor bandage or some scotch tape, whatever they needed. They had nothing. It was modeling. But with some of some of my other clients, it would be it would be like guys with their underwear. It would be a couple of atoms holding the elastic together.
I'm just impressed that people can get their bras to that point without their underwire snapping. Because my underwire snaps well before the bra is dead.
My brother-in-law once found an underwire in the washing machine, not knowing what it was, and thought that a piece of the washing machine had broken.
Yeah.
And I actually was the one to explain it to him before my sister got home. So
Look at you.
Yeah.
You've done the Lord's work, Stephen.
I do
try.
Yeah. I do try.
And I like the underwire.
I like an underwire as well.
I
know
do.
it's
Not when going through security.
I haven't. Has that happened?
It's less so now. They've figured that. But of course, when they first put in the new mega security, they didn't actually do anything to think about how women might go through.
Of course not.
Car accidents and crash test dummies, right?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Women drive?
Women are people?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. It's okay.
The seatbelt works for everybody.
I insist on a pat down. Neither Carlos nor I will go through the body scanner. We both insist on the pat down. just as a statement.
For a thrill?
We're anti-body scanners.
Oh.
And we just think they're ridiculous, and most of the TSA is completely stupid, so why even comply with any of their things?
Because they'll put you in jail.
Well, I know, but they have just way too much power.
They
It's
have-
like
yes,
martial law.
yes.
Get your
they
TSA
do.
pre-approved /Nexus.
Yeah.
It's the best $80. It's like first class for the lineup for security.
No, I
It's
know,
worth
and
it.
that's the other thing that bothers me about it. But anyway, I agree with you. Like, if I flew more, I would. But so I make them do a full pat down, and sometimes honestly, it's just a nice full body massage before you get on a plane.
Did you check here?
Exactly.
Did you check
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, I have.
right here.
Right here.
I had a bit of a scritch just in my lower back.
Yeah.
It's nice. Anyway.
One of my favorite headlines today at a metal blog I was reading was about a musician who's in jail. And the headline was, he was found with a phone in his anus, but said it wasn't his.
Wow.
I mean, I would believe that, because why would you put your own phone up your bum? Right?
That's a solid question.
Unless
I will say though-
I mean, and it takes all kinds, and God bless him, right? But I just think maybe he didn't know it was there.
That's what I was going to say.
But that's my question is, like, are you going to also then feign it's
What's
not
that?
mine? What was it doing there?
Yeah.
Because I don't, like, look.
Well, yeah, one doesn't necessarily lead to the other.
Yeah.
I mean, if this
No.
was in a court of law,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
would have some wiggle room.
And you have
with
to do that.
particular-
What?
You found
Where
a what?
was
Where?
that? Oh, that's... Well, my cellmate was looking for his phone. That's weird.
That's honestly, depending on the size of your phone. Like the
Remember
new,
those StarTACs in the early 90s?
those
The little
were
tiny
tiny
ones?
ones,
Like,
yeah.
that might
That'd
work.
be fine.
But with those ones that you can buy today, they're
the
like
Google
the X.
Pixel that's basically an iPad?
That you could basically serve tea on?
Or
Yeah.
the
you
phone
didn't-
that Will Ferrell used in Zoolander. Remember that phone?
Yes. Well, that's not even a challenge.
That's
The
Can
first,
put 3.
it's the first day back to work after Pride weekend. That's not a challenge.
I mean, we really went on a journey from bra sizes.
Do I need to go shopping?
need to go
Yes,
shopping?
I do,
That's
because
what-
I keep just
Are
tightening
you going to show
the
us your bra right
straps.
now?
Why?
Immediately, it was like she was gonna lift.
There's
her
a
top,
moment, yeah.
and then stopped herself,
Yeah,
and then was
like-
like, "Oh, why?" It was like that was my favorite response of yours ever.
Well, let's just
like
let's just guess the color. Can you
just-
guess the color?
Going to go with a nice nude beige.
I'm gonna go with green.
No, electric blue.
Ooh. All right.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. And it's from
Always keep them wanting more.
It's
Yeah.
from a store that I don't think I can frequent anymore.
Okay.
It
Fair.
has fallen into I think you know what that is.
Yep.
Disrepute.
Yes, it has, and I feel bad because I think the people who work in there are very helpful and try and do their best, but their company has not supported them.
Yeah.
Excuse that.
Well,
Oh, the bra jokes, just so good.
They
So
lift
good.
you up, don't
They
they?
do. They really
They
do.
do. Oh yeah, so let's just move on.
All right.
There's nowhere else.
I mean, honestly,
I can go.
it's a great segue because
Boobs.
we are going to talk about
Boobs
a
and-
lot of
a
boobs
lot of
in this
boobs.
movie.
There's a lot of boob.
Lot
So
of
much
boob.
boob top in this
Yep.
film. And I'm honestly so glad we're discussing it. I kind of after having never watched it before and just watching it yesterday, I kind of can't believe we haven't talked about it yet on this
Yeah.
podcast because it's very ripe for us.
It is.
We're talking. I guess
yeah.
first, I'm Andrea Warner.
And I'm Lisa Christiansen. And
listen-
joining us, should we say?
Yeah, joining us is Stephen Schelling.
Hi, everybody.
He,
You sound like a puppet.
Thank you.
one
It's
of
to offset the gloom to come.
yeah. Possibly our most returned guest.
I believe so.
Yeah, I
he
believe-
has shown us to have quite a niche interest, speciality here.
Honestly, I think
that
he-
nobody else has.
I think he has multiple interests that somehow certain movies,
Yeah.
the Venn diagram
Yeah.
is just.
It's
a
undeniable,
Stephen
and
Schelling
it's-
specialty.
Oh, to be fair, like Moonstruck and Dangerous Liaisons don't have a lot in common.
No, but the favorite certainly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but it does have strong women.
Strong women. There we go.
I do like a good strong woman movie,
Yes.
and according to my Netflix, that says you enjoyed movies with strong
women.
female leads.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I think there's a case to be made. Anyways, we're talking about Dangerous Liaisons.
We are. And because it's the all-important 31st anniversary. We don't like to do those round numbers.
No, we sure
Any
don't.
schmuck can do a round number.
We sure don't. Yeah. Well, and we're also starting like kind of doing a few more movies where we do the original and then the sort of like teen remake. So this is our Dangerous Liaisons episode. We are going to be recording a Cruel Intentions episode in the future. And
cool.
I'm so excited about that.
And we just found out today that there's going to be a prequel TV show on Stars.
to Dangerous Liaisons.
To Dangerous Liaisons. You saw that?
I did.
Yeah.
Wild.
And then I guess we could do Valmont with Colin
exactly.
Firth.
Oh my God.
And Annette Bening was almost in
Annette
Dangerous
Bening,
Liaisons,
yes,
but
yeah.
then Milos Forman cast her as the lead in his Valmont. So she left. She didn't get the part in Dangerous
So this
Liaisons,
is-
but then she became a better part in the other version,
Pretty much
which
we
is not
could
as
do
good
this
of a
forever.
movie.
we could do this
It is
forever.
this book, the original book, which is 227, I think, years old. It's just you're keeping to your theme of off years.
Yeah.
It's so many things. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The number operas, stage plays. I mean, this was based on a stage play. The movie, several movies. There's a 1959 movie with Jeanne Moreau at peak Jeanne Moreau period.
Yes.
Where she's just a horrible rich Parisian woman. It's fabulous.
And there's a Chinese version,
Yes.
which is almost just straight lifted from...
There's even a gay pornography version.
Oh, well.
Fantastic. And you, Stephen,
I have not
because
seen
you're
it.
so cool,
Yes,
extra credit, you reread it in French this weekend.
I did. I
Reread?
didn't finish
You-
it.
you'd
I
already-
I
oh.
read it when I was a kid. So
Okay.
not a
Oh,
kid, but
wow.
a teenager.
That explains
You
a
a
lot.
12-year-old. This is
Yeah.
No, not a 12-year-old.
Oh.
Definitely a teenager.
tough stuff for
a later teenager. I saw the movie for the first time as like 15 or mid-teenager. I actually saw it in France.
Wow.
With French subtitles. I remember seeing it
wow.
that way. And I checked to see if my mind was crazy because I know we didn't spend Christmas that year in France. And actually, we had gone for spring break, and it opened in March of that year in France.
Oh, wow.
So I think I did it mostly to get away from my family.
Of course, yeah.
But
sure.
it stuck with me.
I can't imagine seeing it
I
at
don't
15
think that's a
and having it not stick
particularly
with you. Yeah,
good
like,
thing for an impressionable young person.
It has
to see this.
influenced quite a bit of my life. So
Gosh.
I guess.
So let's give Stephen's bio quickly. A professional gadabout by trade. Over the course of several careers, Stephen has been a journalist, fashion stylist, and co-founder of a PR agency. He took last year off to live in Paris and since returning has been scheming on how to move back. He is a history buff, lover of period movies, and the person who brought Andrea and Lisa together. You're welcome, listeners.
And we never
thank
ever
you.
get to hear the end of that. do
Thank
we?
you.
No, well, of course. and you never, ever will.
Ever will. Ever will. Yeah, no, I know. Once eventually our partnership is monetized,
Yeah.
you will reap the reward.
Oh,
Yes, you will,
I know.
yes.
I am absolutely aware that is going to happen.
His longest investment ever.
Yes.
He's just
Playing
like,
the long
"God,
game."
This is such a long game. And it's going to be like, okay, so you get a 10% of our quarter?
You know, you could add
All
to
right.
your bio for a service is that you're a podcast matchmaker.
Oh, that's cute. I
That's
like
nice.
that.
That's nice. Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, just you can add that.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I'll throw it at the bottom.
Okay,
All
good.
right, good.
Good. Dangerous Liaisons.
Yeah, let's a little background here.
Just in case you haven't read it in French, everyone.
That's so embarrassing if you
So
haven't.
embarrassing if you haven't.
Dangerous
simply
Liaisons is a 1988 American period romantic drama film directed by Stephen Frears, written by Christopher Hampton, and based on his play. Stephen, please handle the...
Les Liaisons Dangereuses.
Yeah, that's good. Which was itself the adaptation of the 18th century French novel of the same name by...
Pierre Chauderlot de Laclos.
It stars Glenn Close, John Malkovich, Michelle Pfeiffer, Swoosie Kurtz, Mildred Natwick, Peter Capaldi, Keanu Reeves, and Uma Thurman. I think this is our third Keanu Reeves movie this year.
Uh-huh. Yeah, about time.
Yeah.
Finally. Honestly, it's a third Keanu Reeves movie this summer.
Yes, this
We
is
did.
summer.
We did
The Lake
Always
House.
Be My Maybe, The Lake House,
Yeah.
and this.
Yeah.
So good summer of Keanu.
I think our next one should be Dracula. Or do you consider that a period piece?
Oh, I consider it awful.
Well, it is.
It's just the worst film.
It is awful. But in terms of seeing Keanu,
yes, well, that was that whole
outfits.
period of Keanu being woefully miscast in every film. Like Speed was the last. At that point, was the last really great film he was in. Was perfect for.
When he was in As You Like It, do you remember that?
Oh yes, I do. It was terrible.
Oh boy, the rest of the movie was great.
He just kept playing. Either was it Bill or Ted? I don't remember which one he was, but he kept just playing them over and over. Like in this, he's kind of the weakest link in Liaisons because he's sort of like, "Would you like to learn how to play the harp?"
Yeah,
It's not. It is not. Yeah, Stephen, because you're good with the French pronunciations, could you please read the synopsis for us? Don't worry about all the cast under. That's more for us.
Okay, I will go from this part here then. The Marquise de Merteuil, Glenn Close, and the Vicomte de Valmont, John Malkovich, display the petty jealousies and jaded insouciance of life in France's royal court in the 18th century, casually ruining the lives of de Merteuil's young romantic rival, Uma Thurman, the music teacher, Keanu Reeves, for whom she secretly pines, and the upstanding Madame de Tourvel, Michelle Pfeiffer. But when actual romantic feelings begin to surface, their games take on a much more treacherous air.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that really sounds like a lot of information, but it's mostly the Marquis and the Viscount, right?
The Marquise, Madame de Merteuil and the Viscount. So Valmont and Merteuil.
And Merteuil. Just being heinous human beings.
To others and themselves in the end.
Yes.
They just go picnicking on each other and just
do.
pull each other apart. And,
man.
it's beautiful.
Now, I don't... Watching this the second time, we were talking about how we watched it originally years ago and then watching it again. But one of the things I don't think I noticed the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong because you've read the book, I remember the scene that we will talk about where I'm just going to call them by their names because I mangle French. So when Glenn Close is explaining how she came up.
Yes.
And John is listening.
It's such a powerful scene.
It is a very powerful
It's
scene.
amazing.
But it also reminded me of the desperation of the class system and being able to get into there and not just be a poor, horribly sad, destitute person on the street.
Well, this is pre-revolution.
It is. It was written just about 12 years before the revolution.
Yeah, so you can feel
so everyone's eating cake and stuff.
Disparity.
It's not,
the disparity with the poor people, because we see how they are going to take the person's home from them because of taxes.
Yeah.
They are.
I thought it was going to be like a Monty Python. They're going to
to
bring out your dead. It was bleak.
It was pretty bleak, that whole part.
So bleak.
But that sense that they'd escape that.
Yeah.
Right. And to be able to escape that is to remind yourself of the fact that you have to keep doing this. There's no rest.
Well, she says, win at all costs or die.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. And I don't remember thinking about that the first time I saw it.
I don't think I had really either. I think I saw it slightly differently in that whole scene, which is, it's famous in that in the book, it's also one of the most famous letters, because the whole book is letters. That's why letters are such a big deal in the film. And, John Malkovich has his writing desk, which is the back of...
Good penmanship on a butt, right?
Absolutely. Well,
really?
Much practice for
yes.
him. But it's all letters, and this is letter 81, when she basically tells him to go jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
And she tells him, this is why I became who I am, and you're an idiot, and you don't respect me the way you should. So, it's one of her takedowns. So it's that, and then there's the 141, her letter to him, where she basically tells him how to dump Michelle Pfeiffer, and that whole story where it's beyond my control. Those are the two big ones, at least in French culture. Those are the two big sections of the book. And that section, that speech that she has in the movie is an incredible piece of translation, because they distilled down about a 3,000 word letter into that little speech. It's shocking how well the translation and the adaptation was done.
That's so exciting.
Which is probably why it won the Oscar that year for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yeah, of course.
Because it was, if you read, even if you have a chance to read the play that was based on, that's already a really great distillation of it. But the book itself is quite a thick, it's not an easy, and it's 230-year-old French.
Yeah.
So it's already kind of hard to read.
So what was the inspiration for the book?
Apparently, the author said that his inspiration was he wanted to write something that no one had ever written before. And epistolary novels, so novels based on letters, were super huge in the 18th century. So Pamela had come out 40 years before, which is the famous British novel about a poor girl whose master takes a horrible advantage of her, and then he marries her and makes an honest woman of her, and everybody's happy and overlooks everything he did to her.
God.
Yeah. So this was sort of another version of that, but he wanted to do something that he never really said that he was against the aristocracy. He was vaguely a member of the gentry. He was a military man. He worked for the king and actually the king's brother. So he was and he was a Freemason, so that's where maybe the problems came in.
I was like, the Freemason thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely a little against the aristocracy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But he wrote this incredible female character that, didn't exist previously. And the idea was also that they were two of the first characters, at least in French literature, where they had an ideology that was the reason behind everything they did. So you see her philosophy, and I think it was André Malraux wrote something about it in the 40s about how there are these two characters that actually live by the philosophy that they preach. And so it was a total change in literature, as opposed to just having characters that react realistically. They have like a reason.
And what about character growth? Because this story has a lot of that. I find that there's not so much growth, but you get to go deeper into their brains and see why they're the way they are. Yes.
I don't think they actually change. I guess Valmont changes because he actually falls in love for the first time ever.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Merteuil doesn't change. She's angry, bitter, and she also thinks she's better than, and she is smarter and better than most of the men around her.
Yeah.
But she just gets to wear dresses and play with people's hearts. That's all she's allowed to do.
Yes.
Her, the biggest moment of her change might be when she collapses upon receiving word that he's died. And that's
and she says to him, though, there's a scene too where she says, we loved each other once, didn't we?
Well, and that's the thing, she does always seem like she's a little bit brokenhearted, but I feel like she also can turn it on and turn it off really well. She's
never been the one to be left. She's always been the one to do the leaving and the breaking of hearts. Yeah. She has that speech where, her latest lover is going to call her duplicitous, and she's like, I've always preferred cruelty. I think it has a noble ring to it.
Yes.
Or cruel.
Yeah. No, and it's so fascinating, but that's when she has the breakdown at the end, I feel it's less even about his death and more about the one man she thought might be a somewhat even close to worthy sparring partner has now left her entirely alone in the world. There's no one else that's going to match her cruelty. I'm just oh man, if you just look around, I'm pretty sure Marquis de Sade is somewhere around here. Right? You could just find this guy.
But she liked the game playing,
no,
whereas the Marquis de Sade was more about,
cruelty.
was the physical thing. For her, the mental cruelty was above all what she was good at. And I think that's what I liked about it originally when I first saw it was these two super hyper-intelligent people speaking this incredible language with two very good actors. I didn't realize just how much John Malkovich is over the top in this when I was 15.
I know, yeah.
But seeing them go after each other, and it's almost this delectable, venom between the two of them, and everything they do to everybody else. And it's this delicious idea that the anti-hero and these horrible people, and you actually cheer them on.
Yeah,
you've got these incredibly lovely people or incredibly innocent people in Uma Thurman and Michelle Pfeiffer being the lovely, Christian charitable woman, and you end up not liking them very much because they're just so milquetoasty and and these two are just pure distilled evil, and it's fun to watch.
It is. It's funny to me now to think too, and I don't know if our sensibilities have changed over the years, but there was a lot of criticism of John Malkovich being this seductress, and people didn't find it believable. I completely found him very believable.
Absolutely.
The way he speaks, the way he has the authority, the way he goes forward and back on. I thought he was perfectly classed. And from what I understand, the theater version was Alan Rickman, who I can also very much see.
Totally. And also, that kind of, the ways in which he bullies / just cleverly manipulates people into giving him exactly what he wants, doing exactly what he wants. I mean, yes, ultimately he is also eventually a rapist as well. But, previous to that, he's just very good at being a early the guy who wrote The Game would just wish to have that level of
he was a player.
clarity.
He was very good at doing it. And there's a couple of scenes where he does. I mean, what he does to Uma Thurman isn't hard. Even he says it himself. It's not hard because she's so young, so innocent. But what he does to Michelle Pfeiffer, and there's that scene where they have together where he won't even let her say no to him.
Yeah.
He just talks over her and says, "I never thought you were beautiful. You're beautiful. Your beauty had nothing to do with it. I'm in love with your soul." And then she, of course, just faints in his arms. And you know, waves crash along the shore.
Sometimes the movie felt very long to me, but then again, at the same time, I think watching that relationship, what it did unfold in that kind of real time, you're like, oh yeah, I can see how this would happen. Like I can definitely, the game he played, it was unbelievable.
It also worked in real life. He left his
he
girlfriend
did.
and got together with Michelle Pfeiffer during the filming of the film. So
Did he really?
Yeah, he left his wife, Glenn Headley.
Glenn Headley.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Glenn Headley.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. All right.
Well, I mean, and often you find that out after, and you're like, that's where the chemistry. I mean, that was some heavy-duty chemistry there between those two.
Well, I kept thinking about Uma Thurman was involved with what's his bucket at the time, Gary
Oldman.
She was married to Gary Oldman at the time, right? Like that was, and so I just kept thinking like, oh, this makes a lot of sense for her. Like, and I can understand how like Weinstein's gonna come and scoop her up at some point. Like, you know, like she's so lovely.
She is so lovely.
So lovely. And like just so young and still has like, and I think she does an okay job like bringing a bit of the humor that like Cecile is supposed to have in that character. Keanu brings it accidentally.
It really is.
I am longing. I am sad. I am longing. I am sad. Oh, I am angry. I am longing. It's a lot. I mean, he's the same way with Uma though. He's very pretty. He's so pretty in this. I mean, just so pretty, right?
He's very pretty, but when he opens his mouth,
it's a problem.
It kind of he was woefully miscast, but of course it was, you know, they're getting the youth people, prime youth people.
There really aren't any men except for the in the loop Scottish.
His helper, his
because the Local Hero was one of my very favorite movies. And to see him, have you ever seen Local Hero?
No.
Oh,
but I know who you're talking about.
Local Hero.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And he's
British brother-in-law. Yes, I know
and
very well.
There really aren't any men in this movie.
No,
I know, and I like that.
I mean, and so it kind of goes to show what she said, though, right?
Yeah.
But like, who else would be able to do this?
Yeah.
Because
there's one other extraneous man, but it's just the guy that she's going to dump to.
Yeah. Her ex-husband? Or?
No, not even the ex-husband, because it's the man she's doing right now.
Oh, yeah, but you see him in the cupboard?
Yeah, he's just off in the cupboard.
I love keeping a plaything in the cupboard. I think that's just genius.
But he just sat in there?
Yep, just sat in there.
He was waiting till she was ready.
Yeah.
Not even with a book.
No, I know. Honestly, one of my favorite things about that film was just seeing like how just like if you are a woman like her, you can just put a man in a cupboard for later, and they have to wait there. I wonder how many she has lost to sort of being trapped in a cupboard. Like when she just forgot about them.
Like a hoarder with the cats.
Yeah, just forgot about them.
I moved the bureau and that's where Pinky was.
I just found you later. It was wild. So I had never seen it, but you had both seen it earlier. I was not fully understanding and prepared for just like how kind of violent it could be. That had sort of missed me somehow in my sort of pop culture understanding of it. What was your impressions versus like how has it changed in your minds?
I'll be honest and probably think it didn't seem as violent the first time I saw it.
No, me neither.
I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, no, of course. But
it seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and the way I think I was probably a little naive myself because the way he was able to get them, especially like all the women, to agree that they gave consent.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, no, you did. Oh,
but I did. But no, you did.
You did.
Oh.
Yeah, and I probably the first time seeing that was thinking, well, she did. And now I watch it and I'm like, oh no, she did not at all. And also when he is kind of breaking up with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, the violence.
And it is... And I understand that what we're supposed to be getting from that scene is that his violence is coming out because he's in love with her and he has to somehow like crush the thing he loves because he can't love it. He doesn't even acknowledge that. So I recognize that is a well-directed, well-acted scene, but it's very uncomfortable to see another person humiliated like that.
Yeah, and it looks painful. Like, in all honesty, like, I would not be surprised if there was a hair or two loose after that particular.
Yeah, like, whereas getting stabbed from the duel, I'm like, yeah.
Beautifully shot, though, I will say. That was beautifully shot.
Can I just, as an aside, there can't be anything dumber than those duels. How are those supposed to work?
I don't know. I remember somebody once making a joke in high school. I was friends with a girl, and we were at a party, and they were like, "Oh, I'll fight you for her honor." And my friend was like, "So you're going to fight to see who doesn't get to sleep with me?" Like, that makes no sense at all, because that's what my honor means. And the guy was like, and walked away. And she's now a very, very strong, strident feminist, and good for her. She always was. But back in those days, back in those 90s, probably around the time of this film, late 80s, people just didn't understand what anything that she was talking about was.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, I the duel, to me, I also thought it was sort of just like, it did not seem like a duel that was necessarily going to end in a murder. I thought
that's how they have to.
They have to end. That's how it has to be.
Winner and a
but
loser.
I thought they were just gonna, like, eventually just talk their way out of it. I didn't understand that it was for sure gonna. I'm.
Really, he was just committing suicide.
Yeah,
right? He just couldn't do it. Maybe he was a
staunch Catholic.
I don't know.
You're right. He's just leaned into
the original leading in.
Very different.
But is it actually? Because if we think now really about what leading in is, we're like, no, that actually is sort of just a death by complicity.
Yes, there we go.
Sorry, Cheryl. Yeah. That's my hot take on your lean in. Anyway,
Well, going back to what you were saying about him, or about the lack of consent.
Yeah.
And it's true that he does that. But then again, she has a really interesting point when she says, when I get a man, he wants to tell, he finds he can't. And if he wants to, if he wants to change, he wants to break up with me, he finds he can't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she does it in a different way, and it's a much more intellectual and smarter way, and emotionally destructive way for the person around her.
She also leads her through what is a very contemporary exchange when she's leading Uma Thurman through. She's like, "Well, did you say no?"
Yeah, that's it. That's
like a literal, and Uma's like, Cecile's like, "I did say no. I did say no several times. My body was less about saying no."
Yeah.
And I thought that was just, they still had it be, apparently at that time, you could still, the question, did you say no, was a valid form of the sort of like assessment of the thing. Now, obviously, Glenn Close's character is exceptionally evil and uses that to like further make Cecile feel complicit in her own undoing.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was like, I thought it was deeply fascinating the way that she uses what would be like well, yes, I did say no, to then flip that on her as well. The gaslighting is wild.
She's brilliant. Yeah, she's brilliant.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and also we know, too, that John Malkovich's character is really, really good at pleasuring women. You can just tell. And that's what makes it even worse for them, right? Because if he was just, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, sort of business, it would be super easy to not be succumbing to any of these games. But you could just tell him when he says that really creepy thing to her, of course you need to learn the proper names. How else will I know how to please you?
Oh, I know. It's so creepy.
And you just know that, and you can see how enthusiastic she is by this point, right?
Yeah.
That she's all like, well, this is good stuff. Like, I
need to learn this for later for my husband.
Yeah, well, that too,
Who
right?
had the misfortune of trying to dump Glenn Close, which is how this whole thing started.
Yeah. But yeah, so
and
I find
her second husband is going to try and dump Glenn Close, and that's also terrible.
Yeah.
It's, man.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just manipulating people through pleasure and joy is so excruciatingly depressing. And watching Michelle Pfeiffer give in and just, it's so horrible. And then that speech that The old lady gives her. Yeah, well, that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's also a very famous
Yeah,
speech.
no, that one there, yeah.
Men love
regrets.
by taking and women love by giving, so you
Yeah.
can never be happy together, no matter how much you love each other. It's just the idea of how you love is completely different.
I mean, I like the case against heteronormativity. I'm not going to say that I'm not on board for that.
I mean, I think the author was pretty forward-thinking, but not quite that forward-thinking.
I know, I'm just, my interpretation of the text 230 years after the fact, which is, that old lady was like, nah, you got to get with the ladies.
Yeah.
But I like the fact, too, of how she looked kind of doddering all the time, like, oh, let's go, we're going to walk through the park. And all of a sudden she's like, I've had my pleasures. And you're like, oh.
I've had my pleasures.
And she knows her nephew's a jerk. Like, she knows he's a libertine. And she's like, he's worse. What was it? No matter how bad a man is, he's doubly so.
Yes.
He's always going to be. And she's trying to warn her. And like, yes, I understand you have to leave. And of course, she can't get away from him because he's just too good at it at the game.
No, he said, I don't know how you would, like, when she leaves in the morning, even then, she's not going to be safe because, whatever Scottish dude's got to go and follow and, and make sure he gets the like, he has it so covered. Like, it is it's such a plot. It's like, you cannot win.
No one can win.
Also, I really like about period pieces is how people just succumb to sadness.
Yes, you just melt away.
They just melt away. Like, did we ever, where is what is her name?
Michelle
Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer's. Yeah, like, where is she? She's very ill. With what? Oh, just...
everything.
Just ennui.
Do you want to be part of this world anymore? I mean, she's just sick to death of this whole thing. I'm out. Like, there was no... She's just sweating in that bed.
Her back cupping. And
the back cupping as well, which might have been what actually killed her. The bloodletting and the back cupping. I mean, 18th century medicine was not exactly,
And what were they just trying to get the sadness out? Just get
the bad humors. The bad humors.
I will say. I mean, they didn't have a lot of language for sort of mental health issues at the time, but they did take them seriously because they were like, yeah, we know you can die from sadness. And now we're all like, you shouldn't die from sadness. But no, of course people do.
Yeah, no, it was so vague. No, it was just like she's all of a sudden dying.
It's super over the top. I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer.
And we get it, that you're sad, you're going to lose old dude there, but you're going to die.
But also,
and where's her husband in Burgundy? Does he not come back from his...
he finds out, doesn't he find out? I don't know if they address it in the script. In the book, he finds out, and she runs off to the convent, and he eventually finds out, but then I think she's already dead anyway. Like, he doesn't matter. He really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But isn't she also sad that she, like, let down Jesus?
Possibly that as well.
Like, that's, like, a combination.
Strange sidebar, didn't she have, like, sort of a weird sort of, cold sore or herpes on her lip when she was in the hospital? And that made me think about when she did The Witches of Eastwick, and suddenly there were scenes before she got sick, quote unquote, where she had... So I think she's prone to cold sores like I am.
Oh.
I think that might be a thing.
You and Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah, because I noticed, like, it's weird. There's scenes that she has cold sores in totally separate movies.
Wow.
So that's a thing.
Cold sore twins?
I
mean,
I used to be
first I've ever heard that sentence said. That's amazing. That is amazing. That is something.
You might want to TM that while you still can.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're going to be a new character in a fun script I write in the future. It's going to be great. The cold sore twins.
Let's be friends. You've got a cold sore. I've got a cold sore.
We did allude to it earlier, but my favorite exchange was when Valmont does ask, I often wonder how you managed to invent yourself. And she says, well, I had no choice, did I? I'm a woman. Women are obliged to be far more skillful than men. You can ruin our reputation and our life with a few well-chosen words. So, of course, I had to invent not only myself, but ways of escape no one has ever thought of before. And I've succeeded. Because I've known I was always born to dominate your sex and avenge my own. My God.
Yeah.
That is... for as much as I do not really care for this character at all, of course, because you're not really supposed to like her.
Oh, I really like her.
I really identify with her, and I really like a lot of aspects of her.
I really like most of her.
Yeah.
I think that, I like the scheminess, the fact that you have to have such an agile brain to make these tangled webs that she manages to create.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for that. You have to, game recognized game, and you really want to acknowledge that.
Well, I think surviving as a woman and, I will say, obviously, there's, a contemporary reading of that where I'm like, oh, you don't have to, step on somebody else in order to like win your own freedom, whatever. Like I get that.
Yeah, there's a sad little libertarian Ayn Rand thing going on.
That's the thing. There's
yeah.
like that libertarian thing that's like super gross, where she's just part of the problem ongoing. But that's why she's going to be killed in the revolution in a few, like, you know.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, if she doesn't die already.
Yeah, if she doesn't die already.
I also think that maybe some other hobbies would have helped a lot of people.
Well, they had a lot of time on their hands.
Whist.
Yeah,
a couple of turns in the garden.
They had a lot of time on their hands.
They did, and that was not good for anyone.
No.
It is not. I believe it is the devil will find...
idle hands, devil's play
right?
thing? Is that...
That's where I was going, yes.
Yeah.
It is... I was going to sing a Smiths lyric, but I won't.
I saved us a lawsuit.
Yes, you did. And for me having to quote Morrissey ever again.
Well, there's a hallelujah.
Yeah, but there just seemed to be a lot of boredom as well. Just a lot of, like, you could practically hear a clock ticking.
I think, isn't there a scene in one of the when he gets the courtesan to come visit him, and it's in his office, and you can actually hear the tick.
Yeah, it is so quiet.
Yeah.
There is nothing. There is just like watching those Jane Austen movies where people are just sitting in the room. Someone's playing harpsichord, another person's got one of those hardcover books that just is open, and then the other people are playing cards at the table.
Yeah.
I would literally cause duels all of the time just to escape that kind of boredom. Like, it looks excessive. And
they weren't allowed
and if
to
your
really do
brain
anything
was
else.
particularly sharp, as you said, that they both were very smart, I mean, it would be maddening. There's only so much I personally probably could get off for a long, long time getting dressed every morning like that, which seems really...
Yeah.
I mean,
costuming.
that's got to take
Also
what?
an Oscar.
Oscar.
Yeah,
one
that's
got to
take at least 2 to 3 hours
It makes sense.
every day, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think?
I think it was, well, at least for Marie Antoinette, it was like 2 to 3 hours. The King was usually a little bit quicker.
Were you impressed by the costuming?
I was. There's that one dress when she
The yellow
goes,
one with the buttons?
Yes, the yellow one with the buttons when she comes down from the
yes,
carriage in that
yes.
wide brim hat.
Yeah.
And she brings the hat up and you just see her lips at first in this sort of like just this it's like the Joker's smile.
Yes.
And then her face changes and she does a little hug like, "Oh, come here, my darling." But
I love
you
that.
get that little moment
that quick,
of the
that quick moment in her face
the
was
change.
really, that was amazing. Yeah. That was spooky. That was very spooky. I also admired that red stain that Uma and Michelle had, because it wasn't meant to be lipstick. They were supposed to be fresh-faced, I guess, beauties.
Yeah.
Well, so a lot of it was taking place in the country, at least for those for the younger of the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
So you weren't supposed to have a full court look.
Yes,
at that point. But then when she's at the opera at the end and she's wiping off her, that's even not even full court. That was like a half court.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look, because the full thing was insane.
Yeah.
Like that was a 6-hour process of makeup and getting dressed and bathed.
God, I can't even imagine.
Actually, Marie Antoinette loved the book, so a lot of people thought that the revolution might have had, like, the book might have had some, look how these horrible aristocrats act all day long, but she loved the book.
Interesting.
Apparently, and thought it was very good.
And in terms of relating, or
She just thought it was a fun little, which is probably that's part of the problem Mary had.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Because from what I learned in the Sofia Coppola version.
Oh yeah, let's not do that.
Anyway, just again, a lot of boredom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a lot of boredom. Because it's not like you're in the castle and you're like, let's do a home reno project, honey. Like, this bathroom has just got me down.
And also, if you weren't, let's say, not the king had to do work, quote unquote, and his ministers had to do work of some stripe or other. But if you were like Valmont, just a man, an aristocratic man, you weren't allowed to work. If you worked, you were no longer an aristocrat. You just were supposed to sit there on your stately pile, or wait to inherit from your aunt, as he was doing,
yes,
and get your allowance and fill your days with whatever you could or whatever you wanted to. So, I mean, that boredom level as well. You had all of these people who were the rulers of a country who weren't doing anything ever.
Yeah. Well, if we learn anything, get a hobby, everyone. Keep your mind and your hands busy.
Can we talk a little bit just more about John Malkovich? So he did not get nominated for this movie, and people didn't really spend a ton of time necessarily like praising his performance. But I think that there is something like, yes, he chews a lot of scenery, but it's also a very good performance, I think.
I thought it was.
I think it was very much a stage performance in a film.
Do you think he was playing to the back of the house?
I think he was. I mean, he came up in the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, right? Yeah. And he was known for doing, not Sam Elliott, but like he was known for doing some pretty like macho early 80s plays. Like that was his main go-to. He was known for like playing those guys.
Did he play the really bad brother in True West?
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
So
That
Sam
is, I
Shepard.
think,
Is Sam Shepard?
yeah.
So that's where he built his reputation. So this was quite a shift for him.
Yeah.
But I thought I enjoy watching him do it. And I don't get cringy the way I do with like when Nick Cage does it. And I don't think Nick Cage knows that he's actually doing it.
No.
A lot of the time. Whereas I think he was pretty sure. I think he got on set and decided, I'm just going to let it all
Well, and also
go.
it worked to his advantage because when he finally is falling in love and Glenn Close calls him on it, he's not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely a sense that he knows this is an artificial persona I've created. And when she's like, you're in love, and when he's thinking about her, it's all of that is down. And I thought that was really smart. And it made me actually not sad for him because I hate him.
Yeah, of course.
But I definitely, there was a difference. You could see the difference.
Well, and it's so interesting to me that, like, this man who
Are you talking about John Malkovich or the character he's playing?
the character, Velmont,
Okay.
is willing to go to such lengths to get her back in his bed. Because they apparently do have a previous sexual relationship. And, like, I just think, wow, she must be so good at what she does and brings
Well, when you asked for an advance, I thought
that's,
was...
I mean, honestly, I was really floored that this man is going to this length to get but again, like, they both know that they really are only matched with each other ultimately, so it makes sense. But I was just also sort of like, I was like, she really does hold all the cards. Like, I understand he does bring her down at the end, but she still is the one who really ultimately comes out on top. I mean, he's dead.
Well, the voiceovers of the letter reading, which is, we will have one more night together, knowing it will be our last, and it will be magnificent. I was all like, I want to go.
Yeah, why did we get a flashback to their sex scene?
Yeah, I want to see what goes on there.
Part of the thing that they do as well, though, is they're talking about, in the French version of the synopsis that we read at the beginning, they actually mention it more as two aristocrats decide on a ceasefire between the two of them. So when they broke up, they decided, okay, we're just not going to go after each other. But I think that she thinks he's still in love with her, and he knows he's still a little in love with Glenn Close.
Yeah.
And then she sees him actually fall out of love with her and fall for Michelle Pfeiffer, and that she can't have because then he won. So that's why it has to escalate to that.
Well, and she always has to leave people first. Like,
exactly.
If they leave her, then she does escalate. I mean, it's big.
A question: why do you think this? Like we were saying, all the different incarnations of it continues on. Why this story? Sometimes, like, I'm
People
always
love
fascinated.
sexy jerks.
Is that it? It's just simply that? Because you know how like filmmakers are constantly making King Kong over and over and over again. I'm like, King Kong was fine.
The anti-hero thing that Steven's talking about too, like, and especially like given that those characters, like, we still don't actually have enough anti-heroes on some level, like in our sort of like literature and in our film history that like are interesting enough on their own, like are written in an interesting way. Like, we have people who try and make anti-heroes and they're just boring jerks and awful people and terrible. But these are like relatively like clever, intelligent people who write these beautiful letters to each other. Like, this is like good craftsmanship, I think.
I'd say the characters are strong enough that even Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar couldn't screw them up in Cruel Intentions. And that says something for those characters. Like, you know, hey, we're going to get Ryan Phillippe to come on in and see what happens. And it worked. Yeah. So the characters and the storyline must have some, you know, I think everybody loves to live vicariously through the meanest person.
But throwing this out here, just wondering, what does it say about our views on love and relationship? Like, is it like that we want to keep repeating this story?
Well, I think because we still tie up sex and morality and love all together, and like these people just had sex for pleasure. Now they folded in pain and cruelty and revenge, but they also did just really enjoy the pleasure aspects of sex.
Remember that 1970s song, I Fooled Around and Fell in Love?
Yep.
First line of the song, I must have been through about 1 million girls. And I'm guessing that touched a lot of people. I mean,
Someone did.
Someone did. Yeah, exactly. But it's
Yeah.
that idea. Like, part of me doesn't. The one thing I'm not. I hate. It made me think of Les Mis in a way, where there's the cool hot girl. Like, somebody's like, no, I like that girl over there who's never had sex. Like that.
It was a recurring theme in literature.
It is. I
in our
know.
society.
I know the horror
And I don't
version,
think
but we just keep.
She was already married to the other guy. Like it was.
Well, Madame de Tourvel was, and then Uma Thurman's character
she
was
was a
fresh
virgin.
out of the convent.
She's fresh out of the convent.
and
but,
so she
And that
gets
was what her and Glenn Close's ex wants that.
Yes, so he's
Yes.
going to marry her. So then
Yeah.
she gets despoiled, and she has a miscarriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she runs back to the convent disgraced.
Yes.
And her life is destroyed because she basically becomes no better
Used
than a
goods and-
common street
Yes,
walker.
yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Because he taught her all
She'll
these...
be Anne Hathaway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Lying in
he's
the-
taught her all these things that she thinks she needs to know, and then she
Yeah.
pulls them out on their wedding night, and he's just like, what is going on?
Yeah, exactly.
And not in a good way.
No.
So...
No.
I mean, it's just the fragility of masculinity ruins the party again, guys.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah. It's just that constant theme, and so here we are in 2019, and we still want to keep telling. Like, we're both saying that we are different. We watched it differently.
Absolutely.
However, people keep wanting to make this.
However, I would still completely do whatever Velma wanted. Like, and I don't like him necessarily. It's not that he's attractive. In fact, Colin Firth is way attractive, and he did Velma in another version of the movie, but it wasn't as strong because he was too pretty.
Yeah.
That's part of Velma's
Yes.
charm,
Yeah,
I think, as
I
well.
thought so,
is that he
too.
overcomes the fact that he's
Yes.
not a perfect Brad Pitt
Yes.
or perfect looking
Yeah.
guy. He's
Yeah.
that much hotter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The jolie lait,
Yeah.
like the pretty ugly
Yeah.
person
No,
that
I-
is
Yeah.
so attractive.
Totally felt that from him. But it just seems like a depressing, constant rehashing of that particular thing. And I always think, are we evolving a bit?
Well,
Then I go,
think-
no, I guess we're not.
We take some pleasure in their fall, as well. So we're not necessarily.
But do we? Because I
take a certain little
I
pleasure
guess
in their
we
fall.
did, but part of me was also, he fell in love. Like, it's so lovely. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't.
No, it would not.
Yeah.
It's not that movie. I know that. If it was a
He
different
doesn't get to
movie-
be happy.
No, he doesn't.
No.
Nobody gets to be happy in this movie.
No.
I mean, perhaps if we had seen
honestly, that's
a
like-
few orgasm scenes, we would have gone, oh, well, at least they had that.
The liberty nihilist aspect of the film is that no one gets to be happy.
Yes.
And we all go home a little bit ashamed, but also a little bit smarter.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah, but I know that
I
we
don't know.
because we were discussing how two of the more recent stories about dating were Dirty John. Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yep.
So here is the guy that knows exactly how to talk to you. Looks like he cares. And that's been his success with all of these women. And then we talked about you, the stalker.
Right.
Same idea, right? He watches her get, just so badly treated by these men she's in relationships with, who ironically are the normal ones. I mean,
Yeah.
Connie Britton's bad date at the beginning of Dirty John is the normal guy. So what are we saying? We're constantly saying to women all the time, the best you can do pretty much is John Malkovich. I mean,
I think that's the thing that we have to defeat.
well, yeah, but if
That's-
we're going to keep
yeah.
remaking these stories.
Well, we keep defeating him. He keeps dying. It's not if he ever
Yes.
lives, that's when we have a problem.
Yes.
If
yes,
he ever
okay.
lives and gets to run off into the
sunset with some other.
like, yeah.
It's just such a weird message for all of us who, you want to be in love, to have to be so, if it feels too good and the person is saying too many of the right things, you better put your guard up.
I mean, I
That's
don't think
depressing
But-
and true.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad advice. Like, you should always, like,
I mean,
always...
I have a line that I always say, never trust the grand gesture.
That's the thing. I think you have to, like, really, like, be...
I just don't trust any gesture.
Well,
But that's-
I mean,
have to, like, people have to, like, prove their actions. Like, it has to be more than just words.
Yeah.
It has to be, like, how they conduct themselves. And the more that you, like, the way that John Malkovich's character like just incessantly bullies people into his point of view.
We saw him give some poor people some money, though.
But that was all just.
But,
I know it was, but that's what she saw.
But like, it's the way he acts when they're together, which
Yes.
is bullying her into submission.
Yeah.
So we know he's not a good guy. So don't worry. It's
No,
even
I just
like the show.
I
of
just
it.
feel like we want to keep redoing the same story, and now I just turned this into like a little amateur psychology moment with everyone. We all should be able to just find love.
I mean, I agree with you. You know that I support just finding love.
Right?
I think make people prove themselves.
But we also
not a bad takeaway.
But you're also telling a bunch of people too that you might really need to compromise because the guy that looks too good to be true probably is. So if he farts a lot, is it as bad as manipulating you into sex?
Nope, certainly not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Mr. Flatulence over Mr. Coercion.
See what I'm saying?
All right, so we have to wrap it up.
These are our
unfortunately.
options, people.
I mean, I'm for the record.
2019.
These are not our options only, but these are two of our options. So, Dangerous
Check his
Liaisons.
diet. It might just need a little touch.
Dangerous Liaisons. Does it pop?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
I think it does too, but I really never want to watch it again.
No,
and
me,
I'm grateful to be. But I
Yeah.
want to read it now, and I wish I spoke French.
You can read a really good translation in English.
There you go.
There's
Okay.
quite a few of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steven, as our
Yes.
wonderful guest, what would you like to recommend?
Oh, I would like to recommend seasons 1 and 2, since season 2 just dropped, of Dairy Girls on Netflix. It is just ridiculously funny stories of teenage girls and their one male friend. There's a reason for that happens in the first episode that's hilarious. And they're all living in Londonderry or, depending on whether you're Protestant or Catholic, Derry in Northern Ireland in the 1990s. And while there's bombs going off over here and bombs going off over there, they're just living their lives. And it's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's almost slapstick, but it is hilarious. And in season 2, there is a Take That concert, the famous Belfast concert it was the first time they went to Northern Ireland. And they have to get there. Their parents won't let them go, so they have to figure out how to get there. And the more sexually open of the girls starts making out with a cardboard cutout of Robbie Williams, and I know that feeling.
Ooh. I love to Take That so much.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And Robbie was my
your boy
crush.
Yeah. Thank you. That sounds great. And we have had a listener recommend us doing Dairy Girls at some point, so we will for sure.
Excellent.
I can't wait. Lisa.
I just finally finished. It took me too long, but I was lazy on vacation and watched a lot of Netflix. But A Gentleman in Moscow.
Oh, how was it?
Moscow. I loved it.
Yeah?
Amar Toes? T-O-W-E-S? Tows?
Maybe Taves even.
Taves. Could be Taves.
Yeah.
He wrote another book called The Rules of Civility, which I also enjoyed. Maybe they're a bit cheesy. Don't care. Loved it.
Great. Fantastic. I'm going to recommend a book that I finished it in like 2 days. I did the audiobook version, and it was great. It's called The Book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Elison. And the audiobook version is read by Angela Daw. It's so good. It's deeply disturbing. It imagines a not so distant future where a virus has wiped out tons of people, mostly women and children. And it is just so disturbing. Just so disturbing. And
so what's the selling feature?
Casey Affleck is not in this version.
Oh,
that is
like
the
it's
selling
not,
feature.
Casey
All
Affleck
right.
is not in this version.
Okay.
It's written by a queer woman in San Francisco. It was her very first book. It came out in 2014. It's so good. And the central character, the unnamed midwife that we follow, it's her story of survival and how, what she has to do. And so,
like
yes.
Children of Men? Because that was sure uplifting.
I've heard that comparison. I haven't
okay.
read Children of Men, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But it's deeply bleak, but it's all like female gaze and female protagonist, and it's so good. So but it's deeply bleak, and it left me feeling sick. So Highly recommend. Thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I was just about, maybe I should download it after I finished my book.
Do it.
It made me feel sick.
I felt sick for
see how it
days, and I still feel sick, but it's great.
Okay,
I
so like
highly
the good
recommend it.
sick.
So it's cathartic.
It's a cathartic sick. It's
Okay,
just
all
deeply
right.
disturbing.
Okay.
Anyways, thank you so much for everyone for listening. You could rate and review us 5 stars on iTunes. And yes, please tell us your compliments. That's what we want to hear.
Yes, and hopefully this episode hasn't made you sick.
Yeah, hopefully.
But that book recommendation will. So thank you very much for joining us. Andrea Gin is our producer. We record at the Vancouver Public Library. Thanks again.
Thank you.